Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rosslyn Hill Chapel, a spiritual home for open minds. I'm Reverend Kate Dean, and I'm proud to serve as the minister for this beautiful and sacred place. Whoever you are and however you are, there is a place for you here in our Unitarian community. We are delighted to welcome back the choir, who you just heard. I'm also delighted to be singing with them again, along with our Director of Music, who's our choir director, John Evans. And we look forward to a service about our place in the Unitarian world, as we hear about the recent annual meetings of the General Assembly, our national Unitarian body. Rosalind, Beeton and Andrew Appleyard were our chapel delegates at these meetings, and a number of other chapel members also were able to attend. During today's service, we also have a children's chapel and creche for children aged 2 and above. Babies under 2 are welcome in the creche, but need to be accompanied by an adult. If you're watching at home, please do join us for the virtual side aisle at midday, and the Zoom link for this weekly event was sent out in our email earlier this week. And for those of you who are in the chapel, do join us for refreshments in the real side aisle over there after the service. Also after the service at 12:30, you're all invited to a community lunch discussion hosted by our social action group to discuss issues raised at the annual meetings and also to share some ideas about social action projects we might want to do in the future. So we'll serve the lunch at around 12:15 and start our discussion at 12:30, and we'll serve from the side aisle and sit at the back of the chapel. Then at 2 p.m, there's a fascinating workshop with educational psychologist Helen Barron, which draws on narrative psychology to help find inner strength and resilience through exploring our past stories. In the evening, in a change to our original plan that was published, our evening gathering at 7 p.m. will be Women and Words, Poetry and Music from a Female Perspective. You can find out information about all of these activities on our website and all of the other things that we have coming up in the next few weeks. But if you prefer a paper copy, there should be copies of our Open Mind newsletter on the steward's table at the back of the chapel. Now, coming to our collection, we welcome contributions to our collection at the end of the service, and they can be made at the back of the chapel on the steward's table by card or by cash. This month we are dividing our collection plate between the upkeep of the chapel and the charity Magic Breakfast. This charity seeks to remove hunger as a barrier to learning for over 200,000 children each school day. In the average UK classroom of around 30 pupils, 9 of the students would be living in poverty. And with a cost of living crisis pushing an additional 500,000 children into absolute poverty, Magic Breakfast says we clearly see the impact that disadvantage and child morning hunger have on children. And that's a reminder for us all to turn our bleeping devices off during the service. Disadvantaged pupils are, on average, around 9 months behind in their learning than their wealthier peers. And by the time pupils finish their GCSEs, this gap has increased to 18 months. So Magic Breakfast is running a Fuel for Success, a campaign to highlight the impact of child morning hunger, the impact that morning hunger has on educational attainment. And they aim to raise 1 million breakfasts during the months of May and June with the help of match funding. So however much we give, they'll be able to match that with an extra breakfast. So please do let's all give generously to this good cause this month. I now invite chapel member Jane Williams to come forward and light our chalice.
Before I light the chalice, I just want to say a few words about the recent General Assembly meetings. We last met in person 3 long, long years ago, and this year it felt as if we were meeting for the first time. Many of us are old friends, but for nearly 80 people who were there, it was indeed their first time. So this chalice lighting is for friends, old and new, and for Unitarians everywhere.
Thank you so much, Jane. And with the spirit of friends old and new, I now invite you to greet each other. We come together as a spiritual community and we like to get to know one another. So please turn to someone near you, say your name, and welcome them to chapel this morning. Thank you so much. I do hope we can continue those conversations over refreshments and over lunch. But for now, we have a time for all ages, which is actually a song that I'd like to teach you. And Charlotte, do you want to come up and help me with this one? Come and stand over here. So Charlotte, we're going to sing a spiritual, which is a song that was sung by black people in America many years ago, and it's still sung now to inspire people. It's called Shine on Me. And they were singing this song when they were when they were enslaved, when they were taken from their homes, and they were forced to work on farms and they weren't allowed to leave, but they knew that they had something inside them, some hope, and they were thinking of the hope that God or the divine, something beyond us, can give us. And this song is hopefully going to inspire us to think that something good will come, even when we have really dark times. So we're going to sing it together now. This was taught at the annual meetings by Reverend Erica Hewitt from the Unitarian Universalist ministry. And so I'm just going to sing a line and then you sing it back. It's called Shine on Me, and the words are actually, I think, in your order of service. Shine on me, let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. And Paul, could I have that? So just repeat after me. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. And then we have a repeat. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. So slightly different. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. So let's sing that twice. Everyone ready? Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. One more time. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Shine on me, oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charlotte. We're going to sing Charlotte out to Children's Chapel now. The words are in your order of service. We will hear more from our delegates about some of the programs at the annual meetings. For my part, I just wanted to say that there were two sessions focusing on race and anti-racism. Chapel member Derek McCauley spoke about the legacy of the slave trade and the uncomfortable links that the Unitarian charity, the Hibbett Trust, has with that. And also a former member of this chapel, Danielle Wilson, spoke about the book Me and White Supremacy, which I thoroughly recommend. And she'll be leading a conference on this subject hosted by the Unitarian Women's Group in October. So do contact me if you're interested in attending that October weekend conference. There was also a first gathering of Black and people of colour Unitarians at the meetings, and it was great to see so many people there. We will continue that group via online meetings and hopefully in person again next year. Now I invite you into a time of stillness and meditation. We come together each Sunday with hearts full of joys and full of concerns. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to say their name aloud in the coming moments of stillness, so that we may also hold them in our prayers. Spirit of life and love, God of our hearts, we give thanks for those who bring us joy, and we pray for the safekeeping of those whom we hold in concern. For all those many names, those spoken aloud and those spoken in silence, may they be surrounded by the loving kindness that we offer them today. Blessed be, and amen. I now invite chapel member and GA delegate Rosalind Beeton to give her sharing.
Faces, sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I was lucky enough to go. I was asked by Kate as a first-timer to go to the GA Assembly meeting. And I've tried to kind of just give a flavour of the event. Before I contracted COVID in early April, Kate had asked me if I would be a delegate representing Rosslyn Hill Chapel at the Unitarian General Assembly in Birmingham. She wanted someone who had not been to the assembly before, and I felt privileged to have been asked, and so I agreed to go. As the date of the assembly drew nearer, I was still struggling with the after effects of COVID, notably my low energy levels and a rather foggy brain. In light of this, I considered if I would be able to manage the 3 days of the conference. However, I didn't want to let Kate down, and I had been looking forward to going to the General Assembly. So I took the morning train to Birmingham, walked along endless, unpeopled corridors of the NEC, and along mysterious paths, eventually arriving at the Hilton Metropole Hotel, where I registered and found my room, which housed a huge, rather luxurious bed and a splendid bathroom, plus views onto freshly greening trees, plus all other things that I might need, such as a kettle and tea bags for needed refreshment. The afternoon timetable on the Tuesday started at 2 p.m. and before we began the business for the afternoon, there was a cheerful, welcoming opening worship at which hundreds of people attended. The first motion that we needed to vote on was about the funding of the NHS and the disquiet that already some services have been outsourced to private providers. We needed to vote that the government doesn't slowly bring in, by stealth, more private providers to various departments of the NHS, and that the NHS remains, quotes, free at the point of use. It seems that the government are trying to bring in more private providers. The vote for this motion against private health care was overwhelmingly in the majority from all participants gathered at the assembly. After more admin business of introducing the executive committee and the chief officer's report and other business, we had a break for tea. I must say that I felt rather overwhelmed when I walked into the room where tea was offered, especially as I'd spent the majority of time during the last 2 years in living on my own, and I was not used to mingling with what seemed like hundreds of people. So I walked straight out of the room as it appeared to my fantasy mind that everyone was in groups together, and I wondered how I was going to introduce myself to others, as I knew no one except Andrew, Heidi, and Kate, and Liz. However, I wanted to make the most of the conference, so I gathered the courage to mix more with people. I thought the food the hotel offered us was very good, with choices of meat eaters, pescatarians, vegetarians, and vegans, and all manner of choices for dinner, first course, dessert, lunches, and breakfast. I found that meal times were a good time to get to know people, as I could talk to whoever I was sitting next to, and I met some really interesting people from all over the country. That evening, we were given the Keynote Lecture, which I expect Kate and Andrew will touch on. It was interesting, but I found the subject matter quite elusive to grasp onto, especially with my rather foggy mind after COVID. The title was The Politics of Waking Up, given by Indra Adnan, a writer, psychosocial therapist, and political entrepreneur. She was to talk about her experience of working with communities to help them unleash their power, and why the work of inner transformation is essential in the work to tackle the crises of our times. Wednesday, day 2, was a very full day, with different workshops happening and 2 more motions to vote on. The first of which was to vote on transgender rights. To quote, "This motion seeks to reaffirm the General Assembly's commitment to transgender rights in the face of ongoing trans panic media campaigns, which closely resemble gay panic episodes from former decades. The motion amongst people assembled in the room to vote on was overwhelmingly voted for accepting these proposals. Early on Wednesday morning, they had these lovely meditation sessions before breakfast. There were about 2, choice of 2 you could go to. And on Wednesday morning before breakfast, and before the business of the day got going, I attended a healing meditative session to quote, "To raise our morning vibrations through sound and gentle movements, led by Shana Parvin Begum. She introduced us to 3 different kinds of meditation, and I found by the end of the session, I felt peaceful inside and alert to begin the day. For me, this quietness and meditation is a really good way to start the day, a practice that I begin my day at home with. One workshop that I attended was on peace, run by the Unitarian Peace Fellowship, to discuss, quote, how we might witness for peace in these uncertain times. This is always a difficult topic to talk about, as oneself as an individual can feel so impotent in thinking about peace and what one can possibly do in the face of so much destruction and violence against human beings and desecration of our sacred earth. We discussed how prayer and visualization and putting positive and peaceful energy out into our world can be one way that everyone can partake in. From my work as an acupuncturist, craniosacral therapist, healer, I know from experience how powerful this can be. Energy doesn't die, so energy put out, positive energy, goes into the whole atmosphere. Now I've lost my place. How imagining positive energy and how using creative visualization can be a way to encourage peace and to hold all the violence and destruction in the light. I realize that some people might not resonate with these ideas, but the person leading the workshop was very much in favor of this way of working with and for peace. We also discussed other, more practical ways of how we could help in bringing peace into our world. I attended the Teze singing workshop. I've sung Teze for many years, and it's the most beautiful thing to partake in, sounds to partake in. Teze Chants come from the Teze community in France, which was started by Brother Roger, who unfortunately was murdered in 2005. Teze chants are to be sung slowly and mindfully, sung from the heart rather than the head. The idea is to sing one particular chant many times over, like a mantra, and thus it can induce a quiet space inside, like a meditation. It's a good idea to close one's eyes while singing the chant, and so to be able to feel how your heart is singing. Kate has asked me to lead everyone here in a Teze chant, which I think we're going to do at the end. Finally, at the end of the second day, we had a wholesome anniversary service and an interesting sermon given by Reverend Wynne Thomas, and some really lovely hymns. Other attractions were the Unitarian bookshop, and with some very interesting books to buy. And where there's a bookshop, there I am too, and so I ended up with buying some books. Another attraction was the hotel swimming pool, which I indulged in. I found that very helpful before breakfast to have a swim, except I'm used to cold water swimming in the pond, and this was 29 degrees. It was almost so hot. For me, these 3 days had been a really interesting and enjoyable experience, and I felt grateful to Kate for asking me if I would like to attend. And I would encourage other Unitarian members to attend the GA sometime.
Thank you so much, Ros. And don't sit down, Ros, because it's time for the choir to come forward and sing once again. Our time of prayer and meditation is a meditation by the Unitarian minister Mark Hutchinson, and he gave this as part of the service during the annual meetings. It's called A Rose for Your Winter Time. Some of you may know the hymn that it was inspired by. Mark's project Mind Travels is a collaboration with Dublin-based pianist Josh Johnston, and it combines video imagery, Mark's words, and Josh's piano music. And they will be releasing a track with this meditation on it this summer. Now, in the service, we were invited to gaze upon a beautiful photo of a rose, and I realised too late now that I could have put a photo of the rose in the order of service, in that blank space that you've got. But anyway, I know that you all have wonderful imaginations, and I'm sure you've all seen a rose before, so I invite you now to close your eyes and imagine that you are gazing upon a rose. Hold a picture or a vision of a rose. Let everything around you gently fade to blackness. This rose, the beauty of everything. This rose, a calm in everything. Rose, a resurgent flower, holding a love and a power that is beyond you, beyond every hour and every minute too. From your rose, feel the light shine. From stalk to petals to everywhere. Sometimes we can't feel the reason or taste the rhyme. This is the reason, always to entwine with a rose for your winter time. Thank you so much, Paul. I now invite Andrew Appleyard, our other delegate, to give his sharing.
Thank you, Kate. Like Ros, I was privileged to be asked to attend the General Assembly. I really didn't know what to expect and was very glad of a lift and company of Indra up to Birmingham. The event was excellent, so much energy, enthusiasm, and the willingness to learn from others. I was told it would be exhausting, and boy, was that true. It was helpful there were some familiar Rosalind Hill faces around: Kate, Ros, Derek, Heidi, John, Derek and Jane. The messaging I took away was one of reawakening after the pandemic, the power of communication, the place of Unitarians in the world, and raising awareness of some very important social issues. Once the proceedings started with the opening banner parade, it was full on for the next 2 days. Outside the plenary sessions, there are numerous workshops. I probably chose more than I could take, but started with the familiarity with a presentation by Derek Macaulay, chair of the Hibbert Trust, on addressing, as Kate mentioned earlier, the complicated issues surrounding donations derived from slavery. He eloquently discussed how the Black Lives Matter campaign had caused the trustees to reflect upon how the funds in the trusts they have dispersed reinforced white privilege, yet made ever more damning by the fact that they arose from the exploitation of black slaves. The trustees have been on a journey to explore the basis of the trust's founding. What has emerged is a complex picture reflecting painful aspects of British colonial history in Africa and the Caribbean. There is an acceptance that more should have been done in the past, and there is a commitment to take further steps to address white privilege and the legacy of colonialism. The communications workshop was run by Reverend Kate. It looked at ways of growing the Unitarian message and congregation base. Rosalind Hill was very much held out as an exemplar, with the use of the chapel for various events such as Soul Fuel, Death Cafe, and same-sex weddings, as widening the knowledge of Unitarianism. Attendance numbers post-pandemic nationwide have fallen, and the communications theme was reinforced in the Keynote Lecture by Indra Andan, co-initiator of the alternative UK political platform and global consultant on soft power. Her message, which was also reiterated in a workshop the following morning, was that a new kind of political, social, and institutional leadership is needed for these times. It is about connection, not simply technological, but emotional and contextual. It is soft power as opposed to hard power. Hard power is getting what you want through force, but soft power is getting what you want through attraction. It is the difference, the power that arises from disconnection, cold, objectified, and the power that arises from connection, warm, engaged. In an increasingly globalized world, why do some feel part of a growing global community and others under even greater threat? In our age where technology provides infinite possibility for connection, why do some, whether they are countries, companies, or individuals, create burgeoning networks and thrive, while others feel more and more isolated? Connections on their own are not enough. Soft power is the degree to which a person, company, or nation can enrich connections with meaningful relationships, the kind that delivers trust and reciprocity, leading to cooperation and co-creation beneficial to both. Indra's view is that a nation or organisation such as ours has to be an event, constantly offering evidence and experiences of how it is growing and developing to the rapidly changing needs around it. In this age, soft power will accumulate to those who can engage successfully at this frequency, whose relationships, both internal and external, are strong but flexible, warm and accommodating, who have not only the best understanding of how connection happens, but the best skills in turning those connections into relationships. Soft power then relies on active authenticity and relationship potential. I would agree with Ros, that was quite a lot to get your head around at 9 at night. There was an excellent presentation by Kevin Collins, briefly Education Recovery Commissioner for the present government. He talked about investment in education rather than money spent, and how he had argued for a post-pandemic investment of some £15 billion as opposed to now what is being invested of 1.5 billion. How the most disadvantaged were getting further left behind by the lack of investment, and how their life choices were being considerably restricted. Like Ros, I attended the Peace Fellowship, and I was horrified by just the number of conflicts globally which are unreported. The evening service on Wednesday was led by the Reverend Wynne Thomas. It was a wonderfully joyful experience. His sermon was very uplifting. He compared us all to stones in a Welsh dry stone wall that would last forever. By the final morning, I was definitely flagging. I attended an excellent presentation, as Kate has mentioned earlier, by former chapel member Daniela Wilson, who has led an online book study group entitled Me and White Supremacy. She talked about some of the pitfalls around the language and the wrong assumptions she had made in the initial approach to the book. There was an enjoyable closing worship, then lunch, and a pleasant trip back to London with Indra and Jane. I got an enormous amount out of the 3 days, met a wide variety of people, and came away with a positive feel and sense of purpose. I thank the chapel for sending me to Birmingham.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And as Ros mentioned, there are some wonderful Teze chants, and we're going to close our service with one of those. Ros, would you like to come forward and teach us the Teze?
Times because it's in a way like a meditation. It will start what I just said. Oh, you want me in the mic? I don't need to sing into the mic. Okay, so I'll sing it through first, and then if you join in. The words are, it's in Latin, ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. So I'll sing it through once. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. The translation they've put under here is living charity and love shows the heart of God. Ubi caritas et
And now for our closing blessing. Ubi caritas. Wherever true loving charity exists, God is there. May our place in the world be one of kindness and giving towards each other, within our communities, and in our approach to our Unitarian family. Amen. Now I invite the choir to sing our final song. Thank you to our wonderful choir. Thanks to John Evans for leading us, and thanks to Paul Ayres, who played so beautifully on the piano. Let's give them all a round of applause. Please do join us for refreshments in the side aisle, and lunch will be served in about 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you.